Welcome to Om on the Range, where we share the practice of meditation, the wisdom of Western Buddhism, and the refuge of our community. Whether you are new to meditation or a longtime practitioner, committed or curious, this offering is here to share solutions, stories, and support. Happiness and better health are available to everyone. It just takes practice. This is Om on the Range. Hello and welcome to episode number 39. My name is Whit. I'm your host. Happy to have you here on Om on the Range. As always, we have a honored and wisdom-rich pair of co-hosts. This week, it's our good friends Steph and Jen joining us. Welcome, ladies. How are you?
Thank you, Whit. Thanks, Whit. We're good. Doing well.
So this is episode 39. That's pretty exciting. We continue to go farther than we think we possibly can. So both of you guys have been very, very supportive and very instrumental in getting us to this point. I want to thank you for that.
Our pleasure. I enjoy being part of it.
I enjoy it too, to the extent that I've been part of it, but you two have been stalwarts. You two have kept the train moving down the track.
Yeah, I think it's been really good for us. We've gotten to know each other better, and I think it's been valuable to the Sangha and maybe to the community. So
I'm hoping more and more people recognize the value of our podcast and hear what members of their Sangha are saying about the practice and how it's working for them in their lives and how they got here.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a nice casual way to cover to uncover some connections and some wisdoms. So let's talk a little bit about what you guys are up to right now today. You want to tell us where you are?
We are in St. Pete. I got on Ancestry.com in 2020 and was looking for relatives. I was living in Mexico at the time. And long story short, I found an aunt that I had never met here in St. Pete. And so I've been in touch with her for a couple of years now, and she invited us to come and stay with her. And so we thought, what the heck, let's go. And now we're here. We didn't know what it was going to be like. We didn't know if we'd be here an hour, 2 hours, or now we've been here 3 days, and it's just been so much fun, and she's great, and we're really enjoying each other. So
good.
Yeah, we met her neighbor next door too, and they're good friends, and turns out they needed help. So Jen and I were able to help them both out with moving mulch, and we've gotten our exercise. Let's just say that.
So you guys are a kind of a labor team is what you are, kind of a mobile. This is what a labor team would look like on vacation.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's just kind of how we like to roll. We like to be spontaneous and just see what unfolds. And this is what unfolded.
So you guys, when we talked a little bit about covering this on the podcast, my thoughts were, what's travel? Why is it so important to people, and what's its role in your practice? And we're going to get to all that, but can you tell us a little bit about what's travel look like for you guys? What are the logistics? How do you move around? How long are you going to be gone for? Those kind of things.
We don't really have a time limit necessarily because we're both retired. We do try to plan a little bit, but I like to boondock. I like to just free flow it. And Jen is a little bit more of a planner. We do have some things that we need to be back for in Kansas City, but in the 2 or 3 weeks that we have, we're just winging it. We're just taking it as it comes. And I knew that I needed the beach. I knew that I needed water. I knew that I needed to go swimming. And I wanted to meet my aunt, but that's pretty much all we knew. Do you want to add anything to that?
Travel tends to look like we have a starting point, maybe 2 or 3 destinations, depending on the trip. We try not to tie them to a timeline, although sometimes they need, there's a specific date we need to be someplace. But we try to minimize that so that we can have all of our time free to just explore day to day.
What comes up?
We might, use ChatGPT or Google, or a lot of times we just talk to people that we meet along the road and they say, "Oh, have you been over here?" Or
Don't
have you,
miss
yeah.
this.
So
Yeah.
we're going to go to Seven Sisters and do a little paddling there. And we're going to go to Jenny Spring, which we've heard good things about.
Yep.
And then Sandra in our Sangha has a couple of really good friends in the Gainesville area. So we're going to go meet them. And we did set up a dinner time with them, and we're going to spend the night. And these are complete strangers, but Sandra adores them and us, and just says you all have to meet because she recommended them so well. It's like, well, we got to do it. These people sound wonderful. So that's what our travel tends to look like. We like geography, taking in whatever is interesting. And we look at plants, and we go to gardens or arboretums, or we like history. So we'll look up and study the history of the area and economics and what's going on here and what have they been doing and why is this town doing well? Why is this town not doing well?
Yeah.
And we like art museums, whether it's local or regional or in a city, we'll take in larger art museums. And we tend to spend most of our time in nature and less of our time in cities, but our trips tend to combine both.
Okay, so what is the mode of transportation for this trip?
We're in a 2023 Ford Transit cargo van that has been built out to look like a little cottage inside. So it's just a little house on wheels.
Okay.
It's got all the modern amenities. We have a 2-burner induction stove. We have a hot water heater. We have water. We have a toilet. We have fan system that functions as air conditioning. We have a, did I say heater? We have a refrigerator and a freezer.
Yes.
And blackout curtains that also insulate.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've never been uncomfortable.
No. I mean, of course, we stay out of the super hot areas, you know,
Right.
like we wouldn't go anywhere where it's 90 degrees.
Right.
I think if we did, it might cool off enough at night to where our attic fans would keep the air circulating enough for us. But we don't have an air conditioner on board, so that keeps us a little bit limited, but not really. Actually, no.
And we don't go to Arizona in the middle of the summer. But
No.
Right.
we know
Nobody
that.
does. Nobody does.
Right.
No.
But we have pretty wide bandwidth on weather. We can tolerate cold and heat.
I like it all.
All right. So you mentioned meeting what right now we're going to refer to as strangers. My experience has always been with travel, it always seems to be a really ripe environment to meet and make friends. Why do you think
Yes.
that is?
Just the openness, you know, the open feeling of travel. I tend to be a little more willing to be surprised. I think
Right.
meeting people for me is about what can I learn from this person.
Travelers
Sure.
like to share where they like to travel.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to say also, we tend to be more open, right, to that whole
Mhm.
process and
Mhm.
meeting new people is certainly part of that. Gaining whatever knowledge they might have. Not gain might be the wrong word, but just sharing that information.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I think the exception might be to that there are certainly some travelers who are real caught up in their schedule. And
Mhm.
so
Oh, yeah.
hard to make friends when you're sprinting through the airport or,
Absolutely.
driving 80 down I-10. But I just was curious what your thoughts were because I've always found that to be true, that you can make some really incredible friends just being in a new spot and sharing that moment with them.
Yeah, because we're all like-minded. We're all, you know, moving down the road, watching life pass by. There's a certain magic and beauty, and there's a certain personality, I think, that goes along with that, you know, that likes to be out just traveling the road and exploring.
I think you said it best. There is a certain sense of openness. When we're all on the road, we're out of our normal roles and places and routines and to-do lists, and we all maybe have a little more time and a little more curiosity, and we just have the opportunity.
Yes.
And travel helps us be more open. I think Whit said that's the word.
Yeah.
Well, and I also wonder if because of your practices and how you live your lives, is that openness also more accessible? It's not just travel, or has it grown? Is that fair to say? Because I find you both to be pretty open. I would say maybe my question really is, is it more consistent for you now throughout your lives because of your practice and because of how you view who you are and how you want to live? Because as we've kind of finagled our way to this point, I would say that's true for me also, is that I feel like I'm just more open across the board. And so that travel wit is much more aligned with how everyday wit lives.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been gradually becoming more and more open, I would say, to new ideas the older I've gotten. And I think my practice really helps with that.
Yeah.
I would tie openness, did I interrupt?
No, go ahead.
I would say openness ties in with awareness in general.
Yeah.
So my practice has made me definitely more aware. I think I've always been a pretty open person, but since I've been practicing mindfulness, I would just say I've been more aware and more in the moment. And that has made travel that much more rich.
Yeah.
So the mindfulness practice definitely affects
The
how I
travel.
roll.
Yes.
Yeah. And then there is a consistency both at home and on the road with openness and awareness.
As you were talking, the thing that rose up for me was just, I just feel more alive.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's almost like high tide lifts all boats, that type of
Uh-huh.
thing.
Yes.
Both in my everyday and in those special days when I'm traveling or there are holidays or just having a great day, it just all feels better and more true. So,
I
uh,
feel similarly.
what's is it easier or harder to practice when you're traveling?
I think it's easier in terms of being aware, like you were saying, and being present. The element of surprise is always fun for me. What are we going to do next? What's going to happen next? And that just keeps me in the present moment. And, like, here we go. Let's just see what pops up. I don't find myself in the past. I don't find myself in the future. I'm just right here, right now, enjoying what shows up. So that to me is the practice.
What about a formal sitting practice?
Oh,
What about meditation? Is that harder to maintain, easier?
that's
What's that like?
that's more difficult for me, I would say.
But this trip, it's been easier for you because
It's been difficult and easier. I'm taking Kyle Webster's The Mechanics of Meditation course,
Yeah.
and I'm being held to a strict schedule of sitting daily
Yeah.
and checking in and being accountable with a text thread that says, did my sit and this is how it went. I wish I had brought my Zafu with me. So sitting up in the van bed is not that comfortable for me. I've got a little bit of a hip issue. And so anyway, it's a little bit more difficult in that regard.
we have more time when we travel. We don't wake up and get pulled into the busyness of day-to-day life as
Right.
easily as we do at home. That's where we fall down. It's because we get pulled into doing things. And on the road, we have fewer things on the agenda, like
Right.
nothing.
Like
And
nothing.
like yesterday was go to the beach.
Right.
And we had to get an umbrella and it broke and we had to get another umbrella. But that became the agenda. But we have time in the morning and I like it that Steph is being more regular with her meditation practice because that helps me be more regular with mine. So it's mutually supportive. So we do it in the morning and we sit for anywhere between 15 minutes minimum and 45 minutes is our max.
Yeah.
And we'll set the timer and it's beautiful to do it in the van. We're typically someplace quiet. It's typically cool. We can generate a breeze or there's a natural breeze that blows. And it's a lovely time of day to do the practice. So that's what our sits look like, typically.
Mm-hmm.
We came out here on her aunt's back porch and meditated the other day. It's a screened-in porch, and that was lovely.
Mm-hmm.
So we can find lovely places to meditate when we're on the road too that are comfortable outside of the van, but usually it's in the van.
You know what? That's interesting to me because as someone who travels quite a bit, I can tell you that for me, sometimes having and maintaining a sitting practice that is comparable to what I do at home can be difficult just because it's different. Because, part of a sitting practice, I'm not going to say it's the strength, but it's easier to execute when you have a place and a time and a certain cushion or a certain way. And none of that is difficult to overcome, but it can be, it's just another hurdle, oh, I didn't sleep well, or I woke up late, or where am I? Now, a lot of times when I travel, for me personally, it's also work related. So there is an agenda. There's a full slate of stuff.
Right.
So there's a
Yeah.
window, and if for some reason the window is missed, it becomes difficult.
Mhm.
But even when you don't have an agenda or as much on your plate per se, I found also it's easy to say, we got the whole day. It's a beautiful day. I think I'm going to go for a walk. Or, hey, let's go grab coffee. Those little things become the agenda instead. So I was just curious if it was more difficult to practice when you were traveling. Would you say that travel helps you maybe deepen your understanding, or does it make it easier to kind of practice that letting go of certain things?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
We spend a lot of time reading and listening to podcasts and having great conversations between the two of us. So we have a lot more time to practice. And so it deepens our practice that way. Being in nature deepens our practice. Spending this much time together in close quarters helps us deepen our practice.
We've talked a little bit before. You guys were our first pair that appeared on the podcast, kind of a
Uh-huh.
random decision that we made while recording, and that was great. We talked quite a bit about how, because of your practices, it kind of helps strengthen the relationship because you have some common ground to maybe deal with some things that can be ego driven between a couple. But
Yeah.
I'm curious, okay, there's certainly some positives there for sure. Is it difficult as a couple sometimes to have that common ground? Does that make it more difficult maybe from a, I'm not
You
really
mean
sure what I'm asking, and I'm not sure you want to answer that, but I was just curious, what's the flip side? Does it make it harder if you're irritated or upset? Or is it just another way of practicing through it?
it's a big question.
It
One,
is.
one of the neat things about our relationship is that we're new. We came together and, you know, you were in your 50s.
Yes.
I was 60 when we met. And so we had a lot of life experience. She knew this Western Buddhist practice. I knew a lot of self-growth practice. I wasn't new to that. So we came together with a lot of maturity. So that makes it easier. And then the practice makes it easier because we have so many tools. We read Terry Real's book, Us, Getting Beyond You and Me to Build a More Loving Relationship. And the tools in that are our go-to tools. And so when something does come up, it doesn't take us too long before we can see our own reactivity and own it. And, sometimes I need help. She needs to point it out to me for me to see my stuff and vice versa.
Yes.
But then we're pretty good about, even if we do get, like I get defensive sometimes, I just do. And you get a little stuck and
Yeah.
entrenched in your
I do.
position. But honestly, within 30 minutes,
Yeah, we can work through it
an
pretty
hour,
quickly.
yeah, we can just come back down to a grounded place and see each other's point of view and get to healing. That's Terry Real's big thing. You don't just go from Pleasantville to unpleasant and then back to pleasant. You go from harmony to disharmony to repair. And we know how to do that. And Steph had a policy. She made me answer a bunch of questions before we started dating. And right at the top,
I know
it's
that
like,
about her.
okay, look, I'm too old and I've taken the wrong path
I've
too
been
many times.
beaten and battered.
Let's make sure that we
That's weird.
are on the same page. And so one of them was no weeds. If something comes up, we talk about it. And she's very good at noticing if I'm bothered by something, she'll say, "What's going on? We need to sit and talk." And I'm like, "I'm good. There's nothing." But then we sit and actually there was a little something. So we're very good about not letting things build up.
Would you guys say that process that you just walked us through, and by the way, thank you, that was both very enlightening and pretty intimate. Would you say that process allows you to continue to strengthen the relationship and grow it just that simply? Does it allow
Yes,
you to return to that best spot, but it also seems to lift the whole thing?
absolutely. And it deepens it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it deepens it, it enriches it, it makes us treasure each other more and we appreciate each other more because everybody needs to feel heard.
Mhm.
Everybody needs to feel validated. and affirmed. And if I hurt her feelings, and I don't mean to, but I own it, and she feels like, okay, you understand, then she loves me more, and vice versa. If she goes into, sometimes she can wall herself off, and that makes me feel abandoned is a big word, but along those lines. And
Sure.
she understands how that feels for me. So it definitely deepens our relationship and our fondness for each other and our love. Yes. The answer to
Okay.
your question is yes.
With travel and with all the time that you've spent, and I understand, I've got a pretty good feel that you guys have stripped away a lot of the expectations. You've kept it pretty simple. How do you deal with the things that pop up, the discomfort, things like weather or where are we going to stay or when are we going to leave or
Mm.
how do you deal with that and how does that help your practice, you think?
Well, that was a process because I'm real comfortable with unexpected situations. Being a sailing captain, being a sailor, I deal with weather and I'm comfortable with throwing out an anchor pretty much wherever it feels safe. If I've got the situation around me feeling good. Jen, not so much. So
I had much more of a learning curve with this whole van life stuff. And the first time she had a different van. She had a van when I met her before we got this van. And I said, we're sleeping in a parking lot? Are you kidding me? And I didn't get a lot of sleep that night. We were over in Charlevoix up in Michigan. And now I don't even think twice because there are places where you can stay, Cracker Barrel, Walmart. We stay,
Planet Fitness.
yeah, there's lots of places where you can boondock safely and comfortably. I've loosened up about plugging into electric every night. I know we can go 2, maybe 3 days, and we can be low on water and not run out. And I've learned to trust Steph more, that she will make sure that we get water before we run out. Or the worst case scenario, if we don't have it, we'll just go get a gallon at a grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's taught me a lot about surrender. And it makes life so much nicer to not have everything thought through and planned ahead. And it allows me to be in the moment.
Yes.
And I don't have to think ahead about where we're going to go and looking at my watch. Well, we need to leave now so that we can get there because we don't have a destination. We don't have to be somewhere at a given time. We don't have to have, what are we having for dinner? Well, I mean, I do tend to make sure we have something in the fridge.
I've seen a big change in Jen, though. She's
surrender.
Yeah, she's definitely surrendered more.
More
She's
relaxed.
more relaxed. I really enjoy her on these trips, because when she gets home, she kind of falls back into the 27 years of high school teaching, living by the bell. And she kind of can get back into that when we get back home. But then once I get her out on the road, she's not living by the bell anymore.
Right.
And we just have so much fun whenever she's more in the moment.
And we started that way. But then when we moved to Kansas City, there was so much to be done,
Right.
to manage a move. And so I was in my head a lot, and I had a lot of to-do lists, and I was the project manager on that. And I get up and I work the list, and I'm not as present and I'm not as available, and it bothered her. And so that was a
missed you.
challenge. Yeah.
I missed you.
Yeah. And I could see her point of view and she could see mine. And
I just wanted to go sailing. I'm like, let's just go. Because that's where I love to live. I love to
Right.
live in the moment and adjusting my sails, looking at the clouds and the skies. What's the weather today? Let's deal with that. I'm more in the moment.
yeah. So sometimes we compromise and she'll take a trip by herself. We were in between trips and she wanted to go another place one time. We were taking a trip in November and December and she wanted to do a trip in between. And I said, no, I don't want to do it. So you went surfing in Puerto Rico by yourself.
I did.
And I'm fine with that, to stay home and get my batteries recharged and have home time, because I like that.
Mhm.
But I've learned to
Right.
have home time on the road. See, that's a beautiful thing because it's really comfortable in our van.
That's why we made the van so cozy,
Yeah.
cottage-like, so that we could feel like we're at home.
I feel very relaxed in there. It's not a challenge at all to live in the van.
No.
And then when we moved, she picked up a house sitting gig, a pet sitting gig for a friend who was kind of desperate. And so we got the movers to move our stuff, and she worked really diligently for like a week, 10 days to get it livable. And then you took off for a couple weeks, and I got to unpack boxes slowly and be in my own rhythm, and you got to go be in Hawaii for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
We're both fine with that. So we have
Mhm.
space sometimes so that we can both get what we need, but we're both in our happiest space when we don't have an agenda and we're together.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, that's good. That's good. And I think what you guys are experiencing and what you've learned, both through your practice, through your travel, is tremendously wise. I appreciate you sharing it. We're coming towards the end of this episode. Anything you want to share regarding just the experience or the practice?
We went paddling in the, how do you say it?
Nyangwa
Nyangwa River
in Missouri.
in southern Missouri, which is an area that we want to spend a lot more time in. We fell
Oh,
in love with it
it's
driving down.
Gorgeous.
And I had this real moment of bonding with nature. And I asked ChatGPT to listen to my stream of consciousness about my experience and write something. And I'd like to just read the first little bit of it.
Sure, that would be great.
There's a moment when the river stops being something I'm on and becomes something I am. The boat drifts without asking anything of me. No effort, no direction, just a soft surrender to the current, as if the water already knows where I belong. The surface holds me lightly, like a hand that doesn't need to grip to keep me close. The banks move past in quiet reverence, black tree trunks rising out of damp brown earth, leaves in every first language of green, gold just beginning to breathe, that tender yellow-green of arrival, olive and spruce deepening into themselves. Nothing is finished, and nothing is trying to be.
Wow. Wow. That really does a beautiful job of encapsulating those golden moments you get in nature sometimes when you're open to them and when you have the ability to surrender to them. Thank you for sharing that and congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We know how lucky we are to have the time and opportunity, and we've got our health, and we just feel like this is just an incredible gift that we have this time together.
Very much so.
Well, thank you guys both for being on and for being such great friends and great supporters of the show. Mostly for the friendship part. You know, we can fake the
Yes.
show if we have to, but can't really fake the friendship. Love you
We
both.
really, we
Love
love
you,
you
Whit.
too, Whit.
Thanks for having us.
We can be found on Spotify and also on the YouTube channel for TBC. If you want to, you can leave us comments or you can email us at omaontherangepodcast@gmail.com. This is your buddy Whit signing off for Oma on the Range, wishing you happy trails. Thanks to our Oma on the Range production team for making this program possible, and to Mr. Brad Athey for composing and performing the original music. And to you, our listeners, thank you for being a part of this journey as we explore meditation, Western Buddhism, and the path towards a happier, healthier life. Remember, less suffering and more joy are available to everyone. It just takes practice. Until next time, stay grounded, stay kind, and keep finding peace in the simple, practical things. For all of us here at Oma on the Range, happy trails.